October 4th already. Frank Ammirante is joining me. We have yet to do a show together, so I'm very excited for this one. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm hyped. A long time coming. It's a pleasure to be on your show, and can't wait to talk, fantasy football this week's betting slate. My Commanders are on the Thursday night game. It's a great week.
It's so funny because I always forget that you are a Commanders fan somehow. So it's very nice timing to have you on the show.
Perfect timing. Yeah, I'm not a loud, outspoken Commanders fan. I'm not I just accepted, that there's not a lot of upside with them yet. But I like what I see from Sam Howell. This has been the most excited I've been for the team in the last couple of years. So that's good to see.
Yeah, it's brutal being in the division that we're in. So it's going to take a little bit for both of our teams to kind of get to a place where, the Cowboys and Eagles and where they're sitting at. You're a senior sports writer at the GameDay. I'm actually wearing the GameDay sent me this hat. So I'm wearing the GameDay hat. Why don't you let everyone know where they can find you, like what you're working on before we dig into all of this?
Sure. You can find me at Twitter at FAmmiranteTFJ. That's FAMMIRANTETFJ. Also, I'm on Instagram and TikTok, just starting off there. My fantasy football rankings are at the GameDay. Just finished second overall last week for week 4. I'm getting hot. My bets are also posted at the GameDay. And we also have a betting show called Better Plays Ahead, which is streamed live from YouTube and other platforms, even on Twitter, every Thursday, 3 o'clock Eastern time. Check us out there. Also, you could subscribe to our fantasy football newsletter we just started there at the GameDay. But lots of content for you and lots of discussion for week 5 that can't wait to dive into.
Yeah, and you're one of my favorite people on Twitter. It's been, a little bumpy road, but you're one of the people that I've followed for the longest. I think we first started interacting a little bit more, and I actually will get your take on this guy before we dive right into Thursday Night Football. We loved Jerry Jeudy that year, and we got burnt. And I think a lot of the industry has a hard time admitting when they were wrong on in some type of situation. Jerry Jeudy continues to break my heart a little bit here.
Yeah, just his skill set about, he's a technician. He could get separate from opposing defenders. He's got good separation skills. It guy, I guess, entices us. He went first round. Yeah. But after that first year where he kind of disappointed, and he showed flashes last year, but it got his draft stock too high in fantasy football. He was going before the injury, I think 4th, 5th round. And I wasn't buying in on that. I had to see it first. I just been burned by him a couple too many times. But I didn't learn my lesson on another guy we'll talk about later on the show. We'll get on to him.
Oh, yeah, we will. Let's talk about Thursday Night Football. So the Commanders are 5.5-point favorites at home. I don't think that line has moved since I looked last. 44.5 is the total. Commanders are 0-2 at home, actually. There are 6s out there. I have seen a couple 6s, depending on what book you do bet at. What's your general read on this game?
Well, I jumped on the line early because it was at +7 for the Bears. And as a Commanders fan, I know that they tend to play down to the competition. I can't really trust them as such, as a touchdown favorite. We saw week 1 against Arizona. They were favored by over 6 points. They almost lost that game because, silly mistakes, ill-advised turnovers, a pick 6, I think it was, or a fumble return. Anyways, the point is they tend to play down to their competition. Sam Howell looks good, but sometimes he forces throws into tight coverage. He makes ill-advised turnovers. And I know the Bears are easily one of the worst teams in the league, but I like what I saw last week from Fields. He threw for over 300 yards. Seemed like they start to get the offense on track. And, Washington coming off that overtime loss, it's like a perfect letdown spot on a short week. I think they'll win, but I don't know if they're going to cover. I love it at +7 for the Bears, but -5.5, then Washington just needs to win by 6. I don't like it quite as much, but I'm still not confident enough to take Washington. So maybe parlay the Commanders money line with you could water down a prop like Justin Fields to get 150 passing yards, and Commanders money line could be a nice little parlay. But I do have the Bears +7. I have a couple props I could say too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think before we get into the props, as a Commanders fan, and you guys have been in, you can talk about it way better than I can. It's been a little bit of quarterback. I won't say hell. It's more like purgatory. Might be hell to you, but it's just this repeated, like not exactly addressing the situation. You let Kirk Cousins, you don't extend him when he was there. And then you've kind of just going through the motions with whoever quarterback you can find off the streets for that year. So with Sam Howell, like I think he does show that, there's a lot to like. As far as Sam Howell goes, what is the dream scenario for the Commanders this year if you're removing like Super Bowl and unrealistic things out of the equation? Because I think we can both sit here and agree that the Giants and the Commanders are not going to the Super Bowl this year. So I think like tempering expectations, like what does draft season look like for the Commanders? Like how many wins do they have this year? Where are you at?
I think the best case scenario is that what we're actually really seeing is that Sam Howell, showing flashes that he could be a competent starter in this league with upside for more. Yeah. And we're seeing that so far. I love what I saw against the Eagles. He's going to have ups and downs, of course. It's his first year starting. But as long as, he's throwing it downfield, he's making some big plays, he's showing growth throughout the year, even if they win 7-8 games, that would be considered to me, a relatively successful season. And that's what I think they're hoping for. They could even squeak into the playoffs, not really do much. But yeah, Sam Howell's continued development would be the best case scenario, regardless of wins.
That's all you can ask for. And I promised myself I wasn't going to talk about the Giants at all while you were on, but I will briefly mention them. And this is, I think that when you're a team that has watched, you're a fan of a team that has watched this team perform poorly for years and years and years, or at least not like where you would want them to be, right? Because there's, spike years and everything, but like, you just want to see progression. You want to see a team moving in the right direction. So like you look at the New York Giants, very concerning. Like the fact that they are regressing right now, not that, they did overperform a little bit last year. I think that was a surprise to people, and they're kind of coming back down to earth, but they're coming back down to earth way harder than you could have expected with the, the improvements to the personnel that they did make. But I think with the Commanders, like winning 7, 8, 9, sneaking into the wild card, like that would be a very successful season.
Oh yeah, for sure. And if they are able to sneak in, it means Sam Howell's showing something, and that's just huge for them. And for the Giants, I thought they would regress a little this year because, yeah, like you said, they overachieved a bit, but it sucks their offensive line injuries. They really need Andrew Thomas back. And I really like what I see from Wan'Dale Robinson, though, especially coming off the torn ACL. He looks pretty solid. I hope to see them continue getting him involved.
Yeah, I'd love to see him. He's someone in a couple of leagues, these really deep leagues. I did end up going and picking him up and dropping, switching out some of the other skilled Giants players that I may have had, switching him out there for Wan'Dale Robinson, because I think he looked explosive, especially coming off of that ACL injury.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing with him that you love is like every time he's on the field, he just earns targets at a high rate. Like his targets per route run is always really high. And that's good because he hasn't really been given a full, route share. And the fact that he's getting a lot of targets, well, if he gets more routes, he could be more productive in fantasy. And that's exciting to see.
Right. Absolutely. Especially for those of us that have dynasty shares of him. Why don't you give me one of your first prop that you're eyeing out for this Thursday night football game?
All right, so I really like DJ Moore over 47.5 receiving yards. We saw Justin Fields really click with him last week. He got over 100 yards more, that is. And Washington's been vulnerable in the secondary. Like A.J. Brown just gashed them for over 170 yards. Week before that, Stephon Diggs had 110-plus yards. Week before that, Marvin Mims got loose downfield in like his 6 routes that he ran. So I think the Bears will have some success through the air, and Fields is going to feed DJ Moore. And I think, like I said, the game will be a little closer than expected. So that would mean that, the Bears have some success through the passing game. And I know you said only one prop, but these two go hand in hand that I got to just right into it.
I'm going to let you get to all of them. I'm going to let you get to all of them. So go for it.
Yeah. So I just had to add in Justin Fields there. It's only, I got it at 192.5 passing yards. I think it's around 189 to 192, depending where you look right now. It's kind of moved, but he's gone over 200 in 3 of his 4 games this season. And like I mentioned, the Washington pass defense hasn't been that great. I think he'll find DJ Moore on such a low bar, 192.5. Like he could do that if they're down, 21-10, 5 minutes left, and the Commanders playing soft defense, Fields just getting easy completions. It's not much to ask, so I really like that one as well.
Yeah, I think on the field side, just to go hand in hand with that too, I like Mooney to go over the 2.5 receptions minus 105. We kind of see him just finding a way to get the attention when he is on the field. One receiver on the other side of the ball, so your Commanders, that I think has been a pretty big disappointment. You'll say disappointment, but I think we're going to see him be more involved. So I'll preface it with that, is Jahan Dotson. Where are you at with Jahan Dotson?
Yeah, it's funny you just mentioned, because I actually just had a thought about him and just let out a tweet that, Dotson, you got to think he'll show us something this week. The Bears' pass defense is atrocious, and their secondary is injured. They're missing a couple starters. So, I love Sam Howell this week. I didn't touch his props, but I'm really high on him in fantasy, and I think they're going to throw for a lot of passing yards. McLaurin's my preferred, obviously, but I think this is a week for Dotson to really get going. He's a little bit banged up, but as far as I've read, he's good to go. He's gotten limited practices in, and the Commanders have like a 25+ projected total for the week. They're expected to score a lot of points. I think this is a week Dotson gets going. In one of my lineups, I got Sam Howell and Dotson fired up as a little stack in fantasy.
Ooh, I think I like that too.
I think we could see them find the end zone at least. At least there's that. He found the end zone last week.
Yeah.
He seems to have a knack for it.
Yeah, and I think he's just someone we're going to be talking about this when we get, we're closer to that week 10 mark, where it's like all the people that dropped Jahan Dotson probably are kicking themselves for doing that. He's someone where, he's got to get going, but I can't bring myself to drop him quite yet in the places that I do have him.
Yeah, that's fair for sure. I did tweet that if he doesn't do something here, he's about droppable.
Gotta go.
That's more in thin benches. When you have 5 spots on the bench, you're trying to get a Jaleel McLaughlin or one of those running backs that emerges. You're struggling to see who to drop. That's when I would, he'd be on the sort of close to there. But I get what you're saying. He's got upside, and he's the type that could really burn you later in the year if you drop him.
Yeah, he teased us enough in the preseason that I think that will come back at some point. What's another prop or bet that you're looking at for this game?
For this game, another bet. Right now, I've only taken those three. For those who are just joining in, Bears +7, Fields over 192.5 passing yards, DJ Moore over 47.5 receiving yards. But if I do add more, it would relate to Sam Howell, it would relate to Terry McLaurin, passing yards, and McLaurin receiving yards. Just really picking on that Bears pass defense. Like we said, it's already bad and it's injury depleted. So that's a way that I like to look at exploiting this game. Definitely. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, Jahan Dotson, to your point, since he's been disappointing, his prop's likely going to be pretty low. I haven't seen it, but I got to think it's 39.5, 40 receiving yards.
I had it up before.
So it's a low bar, and he's still running a lot of routes. So to your point about him maybe getting on track, that could be another route to take.
Yeah, and it's fun to try to capitalize on these moments with these guys where, and they were doing it with Nico Collins a lot. And, there was a lot of money to be had. I said it a lot on this show, taking his overs, they were cashing easily. You could take any alt number and he was going over that. They were opening some of those, there were weeks where it was 34.5 that was opening at. And this guy blew over it. But you want to get in right before the market switches, because they're going to get smart and they're going to figure it out.
Exactly.
A player I want to ask you about is Brian Robinson. His longest rush over 15.5 yards was tempting to me. He also, are they using him at all in the receiving game? Because 6.5 is pretty low for a receiving yard number.
Yeah, so Brian Robinson's one player I was wrong on coming in. I thought, Antonio Gibson would start to push him off and get more of the lead role. It would be a committee, but I just preferred Gibson. But I'm wrong. He looks great. Brian Robinson's running well. He's been, that power runner. He looks better than last year, that's for sure. And that's a low bar against a really weak defense. I'm cool with that longest run. And for the receiving that you said, he's used more in the receiving game this year than last.
Yeah.
It's not like before where he's just strictly for running downs, because Eric Bieniemy doesn't want it to be, telegraphing the play based on who's on the field. He doesn't want, I think he did say that publicly. He doesn't want, if Robinson's on, the defense knows that they're going to run because they don't pass him, sort of thing. So he's getting more looks in the receiving game, and 6.5 is really low. I just wanted to add one quick thing about what you're saying about jumping on early with Nico Collins. perfect example is your boy Wandale Robinson. He just came back.
Yeah.
His catches prop is always 2.5, and he always gets those underneath looks. So it's such an easy number for him to hit. He's already, I believe, hit it in both his games. Hopefully it's 2.5 again against the Dolphins.
Oh yeah, and that's coming also, and especially you look at these teams that are performing really poorly, and you can usually find some really nice numbers on some of these guys because you have the New York Giants who are playing the Miami Dolphins, who are one of the best teams in the league at this point, and they're going to expect the Giants to do horrible, which they likely will, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to at least be throwing the ball and being, I won't say competitive, but they're going to be playing football. So there's sometimes a lot of plus money options that you can find. Wandale Robinson was 2.5 plus 110, I think 100 for that game. So there's places where you can find, some value on these guys, especially on teams that are not performing as well.
Oh, absolutely. And to their Giants O-line concerns, Daniel Jones has to get rid of it quickly. Who could he look to? Wandale Robinson underneath, short pass. Yeah. You can hit that in a drive over 2.5.
100%. I think the only other thing I was looking at, and it's kind of counterintuitive because the Washington Commanders are very good against tight ends. I think they've only given up 20.8 yards per game to the position. But Cole Kmet over 3.5 receptions at plus 135 after we saw him have a good week. You don't really need much from him here. So he's got to get the ball 4 times. He had 85 yards, 7 receptions last week, 2 touchdowns. Do I think he's having that good of a game against this Washington defense that is very good against tight ends? No, but he's also hit his receptions over in 6 of his last 7 games. So I like that number there for a little bit of value because it's in these games, you got to be careful because it can get sloppy really quick. So you end up betting all this money and it doesn't.
Yeah, especially because Thursday you're hyped, football's back. You had you're itching for more action. You just had 2 days with no football. You're like, oh, I won all these bets. Now I get that for sure. But about Kmet, the Bears are passing way more than last year. I think Fields is averaging 28 or 29 attempts per game. Last year he was at 21. So that's a huge jump. I know it's a small sample of 4 games, but it's encouraging for your Kmet prop, and at plus 135, it's pretty appealing.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about week 5. Was there anything that really stood out to you when you first looked at it that you were like, I'm absolutely betting this?
Yeah, for sure. I got this one early. It was the Bills minus 4.5 against the Jags. I think it's up to minus 6. It's just I haven't been really impressed with Jacksonville. Their offense looks out of sync. I loved Calvin Ridley coming into the year, but since week 1, he really hasn't done much. And, Buffalo's firing on all cylinders. That's such a low ask of them to win by, 6 or more. I don't think Jacksonville could hang with them. Josh Allen playing at an MVP level. Really like that one.
Yeah, I see people around this time where they get too excited about certain narratives. So this week it's that Jacksonville is staying in London.
Yeah.
And I don't know that really matters. I think at the end of the day, Jacksonville hasn't looked that good. I don't care that they just beat the Falcons the way that they did. I don't think the Falcons, first of all, they didn't play well. They've looked better in other games, but the Falcons offense, you can't do much under Ritter. So they were able to capitalize on that as they should with the talent they have in that team. So people get really excited to follow these type of narratives. And it's I don't really care that they stayed in London. That doesn't really bother me.
I love that you brought that up because it's yeah, exactly. Who cares? So they stayed an extra week. Cool. Does that outweigh the fact that they've been significantly worse on both sides of the ball just because they stayed in London and they're so rested for the next week? The travel affects you that much? Yeah. These are professional athletes. I think the fact that the Bills have just played better football means way more, and we're getting a low bar at 4.5 to 6 points. I'm for it. Love the Bills.
Yeah, they're a significantly better team too. It's I don't know that you can really compare them. I think Jacksonville's kind of still figuring it out. It might take them a little bit longer, just like it did last year. We're probably going to see them get hot a little bit towards the end of the season, but they're still trying to work out some kinks across that offense there. Is there anything else that you were looking at?
Anything else? I like the 49ers minus 3.5. I know the Cowboys are really good. Don't get me wrong, but with Brock Purdy under center, the 49ers, especially at home, have been completely dominant. They've won by 10. They've won by 10 or more points in 7 of Purdy's 8 starts at home.
Yeah.
The only one was against the Cowboys, but they won by 6 or 7 in that game. We only need them to win by 4 or more in this one, and I think they will. I think the loss of Trayvon Diggs will show up a little more this week against a much tougher offense in San Fran. Brandon Ayuk could get loose downfield. We saw Dallas, show some struggles against Arizona when Marquise Brown and Michael Wilson got loose downfield. The point is, these are two great teams, but San Fran to me is the best team in the NFL now, and we got right now, and we got them at -3.5 at home. It feels a little too low.
Yeah, I feel like you're fooling yourself into kind of like a little bit of a trap here, thinking the Cowboys are having their struggles and a lot of the good teams are. Once they put it together, it's going to be a nightmare for a lot of people, but they still have things that they need to work out. You're going against this 49ers defense. Obviously, yes, the Cowboys defense is also fantastic. We're going to see it on display here. I was going to ask you something and I forgot. Where are you at with Dak?
Oh, it's been a disappointing start to the year, especially for fantasy. At first I thought they would be more run heavy with McCarthy, but then they started to show that they would pass. They got Brandon Cooks. I think it's just for fantasy football. I think better days are ahead. I think part of his low production is because of game script. Like week 1, they got all those defensive touchdowns. Dak didn't have to do much. Against New England, same thing. He didn't have to do much at all.
They're bailing him out a little bit there.
Yeah. So this week's not a week to use him at San Fran, and you're not really going to expect, great production. You're not going to take the overs on his props, really. It's a tough defense. But I feel like better days are ahead, and in the right matchup, you could pick him up and he'll get going and start putting up those numbers that we've seen from him in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. NFL futures, a lot of us spend a lot of money betting on those before the season starts. Sometimes, though, there's a lot of movement that it's worth capitalizing on. Is there an NFL future that you have seen? And I can't wait to tell you, I found an NFL future I really like doing the research for this show. It has to do with your Commanders, but I'll save that. Is there a future that you like?
Well, yeah. So there wasn't one that I like in that, the team started slow, so we got a better price, so let's take them. Like, for example, the Bengals. Like, before they were one of the favorites, you could get them as a much better price, say, to win the AFC. Now they're like plus 1,600. They open the year like plus 500. But I don't trust them with Joe Burrow's injury. Their offense looks like a mess. So the future I picked is more of one that we're getting a worse price. But the fact that this team has shown us something makes me more confident in that. And that's the Houston Texans to win the AFC South. Doesn't mean that I think they're going to do it, but it's like, I believe it's plus 500 right now. And CJ Stroud is balling out. The new offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick, looks like a stud. Like, he's getting his receivers going, like Nico Collins, Tank Dell. Their offensive line, they should get healthier as the year goes along. I think the defense will improve under D'Amico Ryans, who I think will be a really good coach. And like we said, the Jaguars are struggling early on in the year. They're not like this powerhouse that we thought they would be. So perhaps that division is a little more wide open than originally expected. So you could go Houston there. You could even go Indy if you wanted. Anthony Richardson looks good. Shane Steichen looks good. So I picked Houston, but either of those two teams looks like a value. Now, I know we get a reduced price, but it's a little more encouraging to see how they've looked with the rookie quarterbacks that you could be willing to buy in on it.
Yeah, also, and I haven't looked in a while, but I think Ryan's Coach of the Year is actually an interesting play. I haven't looked at that number, but that's something that I probably will look into. I think you could see like him winning this. If the Texans go to the playoffs, how does he not win Coach of the Year? I don't know how he doesn't win Coach of the Year is the thing. And I like the Houston Texans. I like what we're seeing out of them. So what I found is Jahan Dotson to go over 4.5 receiving touchdowns is actually plus 150.
Oh, what's he at now? 1 or 2?
He's only at 1. He had his first one last week. But again, like, I think we're going to see this continued, like, this increased role. And I think there's a little bit of value on that because it opened up much higher.
Yeah, I really like that. And I'll tell you why. It's perfect timing. It's right before this Bears game where it's a great matchup. So there's a chance that he gets one again. And then instead of plus 150 next week, it's going to be minus 110, minus 120. That's going to be a significant move. And it would get jumped that much because then he'll be at 2 with like 10, 12, 13 games left.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect time to do it because it's honestly like this Chicago matchup is probably I mean, how many better can you think than this one with the injury?
Right.
This is probably the best matchup that Dotson will have in a while. So perfect timing right before this game.
Yeah. And I'm not being a homer here because I think the New York Giants are very bad, but another number that it should look like this. The New York Giants win total is down to 5.5 at plus 125. Here's what I say about this. They're without Andrew Thomas, very big deal. Saquon may be back. I think people should keep an eye on this because they have Miami on the road, Bills on the road, the next 2 games. If this drops to 4.5 and it's still a good number, I will look to taking the over on that. Their schedule does loosen up there. They play their Commanders twice, who I think are a better team right now. They still have the Jets, Raiders, Patriots, and Packers. I think that it's going to be gross and it's going to be in Giants fashion, but I think there's a world where this team does end up winning 5 games.
Yeah, I really like that call because, like you said, those are 2 really tough matchups. They're going to
get blown out.
Yeah.
It's a disaster, and it's going to come down.
Yeah, it's definitely going to come down. They wouldn't just leave it there when they're 1-what would it be? 1-5 instead of 1-5 instead of 1-3. It's not going to stay the same. So you would get a better price for sure once they likely lose those 2 games. Love that. That's a good show. Yeah,
because they still, and then it got cut off. They still have Saints, Rams, who turned out to be a better team than I was anticipating this year. And also probably a B-string Eagles team that's resting everyone that last week that they play them. So I think there's a world where they win 5 games. It's going to be ugly. But I think that there's a way for them to kind of pull it together once Andrew Thomas is there. Like you mentioned earlier, you finished second this week. Fantasy Pros rankings, you were second for week 4.
Yeah, I'm happy to see it. I got off to a slow start, but I had a feeling I did good this week. But when I checked that second, I'm like, oh, sick.
And is your strongest wide receiver? Did you come in first in wide receiver this week?
I came first in running backs.
That's it. I knew it was one or the other. How do you even go about doing your rankings? Like, do you have your own model and do you go off projections?
No, I kind of alter it each week. So like the first week, it didn't work out well. I think I finished in the 100. So I always tweak to see where I can get better at it. I don't have a model or anything. I look at, the players' production, their target share, like their usage, the Vegas total. So you see which teams are projected to score more. I even started looking at each player's player props. Not that I'm going to rank them in the list of, leaders and receiving yards prop, but that could just help me like as a starting point and be like, oh, okay, this guy's higher on his prop than I would have thought. Like maybe I'm a little bit too low on him, kind of, because you can't just assume the most, right? The odds makers make these props. They know what they're doing. So if you have such a significant difference in their prop, maybe you're a little bit too low on them, so just adjust that way. Also, like as we're seeing more games go along, I adjust the rankings based on how the players, I don't want to get stuck into my preseason takes too much. So then I start to be more harsh on them. Like Calvin Ridley this week, I loved him coming into the year, but he's not doing it right now. So I'm going to be ranking him in the high 20s probably because, Christian Kirk's earning more targets than him right now. So I can't stuck in my preseason takes. That's probably the most thing that I do with my rankings and hopefully stay hot this week.
Yeah, and I feel like you have to, there has to be a little bit, and even we see this like with gambling, like there is there's this buffer period of like week 1, a lot of stuff happens that you're not going to see the rest of the year. Yeah. And then it kind of starts to level out. We get to week 5, and I noticed by week 7, that's when, Vegas gets sharper. We kind of know the identity of a lot of these teams. A little bit earlier than that. I mean, the public has been winning like crazy this year. At some point, that's going to level out. Vegas knows what they're doing. When you made your rankings, and I don't know when you end up submitting them, but like when you go about doing that for week 5, is there anything so far that has stood out to you? Like, oh, wow, I have that guy really high or really low?
For one, and this one actually, I'm gonna probably not even change on it. And I'm really high on Sam Howell this week. I'm gonna be ranking him in the top 10 quarterbacks because, like we've been saying this whole show, the Bears' pass defense is a disaster. I think consensus in Fantasy Pros, if you check it there, will have Howell like QB 14, 15. Yeah. But I'm not gonna move off this one because I'm really confident in that he'll be able to move the ball against the this Bears defense. But, like maybe another example could be like last week. Actually, this is a good example from week 4. Devon Chen, how you say it? Is that how you say it now?
I don't know. I say it Chen. I change it every time I say it.
Yeah,
so at some point I don't get yelled at. Yeah.
So at first I was ranking Raheem Mostert way higher than him. And then I adjusted, realizing, they were going to use him more. He looked so good. Achane did last week. So I ranked him much higher than I originally did. So throughout the week, basically, I make a lot of updates based on news and based on more information.
Yeah. And do you try not to adjust anything too close to the cutoff though? Because I wonder if a lot of people kick themselves with these, how a bunch of news stuff comes out in a burst at 12:15, 12:30, and it's oh, this player is going to get less of a usage or whatever it is. How much do you take into account all these news reports?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's been killing me. A lot of the late reports, I do these tweaks. I know actually it worked out. I bumped Madison down to the 20s when I was really high on him against Carolina because the late report that they would go hot hand and use more Cam Akers than the previous week, which they did. But in that case, Madison still had way more of the touches. And even my late tweak, I put Nico Collins lower than I had him. I'm like, damn it. He popped off. I can't that's a thing for me to improve on, not make too many, sort of major tweaks so late in the week.
Yeah, I'm going to remind you. I'm going to send you a message at 12:15. I'll be like, don't do it. Don't make the change.
Yeah. I got to stop these reports.
Yeah, it's so easy. And even this week, I would imagine if I do my own rankings, Brian Daboll came out to say that they had plans for him for Sterling Shepard to be more involved. And that's a headache because what Sterling Shepard can do when he's on the field with Daniel Jones. So if anyone looks at that ranking, it's going to be very easy. Not that I think Sterling Shepard's going to go off this week, but that type of chemistry between the two of them and what we've seen historically when Sterling Shepard is actually involved in the game, I can imagine that those type of reports start to stress you out because it's shit, he could maybe be wide receiver 35 this week. And then where do how do you gauge that? It must be hard.
Yeah. And plus a report like that, not only to bump Shepard up, it could make you bump Wan'Dale Robinson down because you think there'll be less, target opportunity. So for sure, you got to sort of not put too much stock into the reports. For example, they said Breece Hall, the Jets did, they said they're going to no more easing his workload. Well, now that I've been burning all these reports, I want to see it first before I just, skyrocket him to RB12 for the week. So I'm going to sort of temper the expectations.
Yeah, for sure. There's been a lot of players this year that have been, this is a big year of disappointments. Some of these fantasy players, more than I remember in the past, being extremely disappointed in where I drafted some guys. Who are your guys that you're don't necessarily, I'm sure you know what to do with them, but you're at the point where it's we need to have a conversation about dropping them.
Yeah. So not that I would drop him, but Jackson Smith-Njigba, I thought he would, get more of a role right out of the gate because he's a highly touted prospect, but he's getting really low average depth of target right at the line of scrimmage, most of his catches. But I will say the reason for optimism is that because the Seahawks 2 starting offensive tackles are out, they're using way more, 2 tight end sets to, help with blocking. I think be patient with JSN later in the year. He could sort of, we'll see him, deliver on the hype. Another one,
because he had a lot of opportunities actually against the New York Giants. And he just wasn't able to make a lot out of it. They were able to, so I think that there will be opportunities because teams are going to cover Metcalf very heavily. They're going to cover Lockett. At some point, you also can draw the attention away. So I think it'll click at some point. But who else are you really frustrated with?
Yeah, Kyle Pitts. Of course, he frustrated everyone. But
do you drop him?
I know I'm in that tough spot.
I don't know what to do. I have him in the 1 week. I'm so pissed off.
At least this year we didn't take him in the 3rd round. We got him 6th or 7th, but. Yeah, it's really tough to start him right now, even with Jonnu Smith getting just as many targets.
That nauseates me because I was so high on Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, back in New England days.
Oh, my God. He screwed us because we thought they were going to do these 2 tight end sets with Hunter Henry, and we thought that Hunter Henry would be the one to block and Jonnu would get all the action. Yeah. And we didn't get that. That was still to this day, that take of mine will haunt me because I really thought that was going to be a Jonnu year. it's nauseating to see how many points he scored.
Yeah, I know. And it looks like Pitts isn't even fully healthy now. Arthur Smith is coming out saying that. I think the best is to try to find a replacement to start, like a Ferguson of the Cowboys if he's available, like Luke Musgrave, fire them up and try to leave Pitts on the bench. Because honestly, the worst would be if, like, right in the fantasy playoffs, he gets rolling and is just a monster and you dropped him. Like, that would suck. So I think, you got to just bench him right now.
You hang on to these guys for too long.
I know.
Like, crap. Like, in a couple leagues, like, I dropped, like, A-Chain, On-Chain. I need to look up his actual pronunciation so I do it correctly moving forward. But I dropped him, and then I ended up having to go and pick him up again. So and using Fab on him when I should have just kind of like waited for him to get hot.
Yeah, that's a tough decision, especially when you have only like 5-6 bench spots. I'm in that spot right now in the league. Like, do I drop Antonio Gibson just to be able to hold on to Pitts and get a replacement tight end? Do I drop Jaleel McLaughlin, who I just picked up? No, I can't do that. Wow. So it's tough. I got to think that one through. But I think the best is just bench Pitts if you can. And
you think so? So this week I bench him, huh?
Yeah.
I did a good job. I will say, like, I was able to move off of him in like the dynasty leagues that I had him. I think I only have one league left that I have him. But I don't know what to do in redraft here because it's hard because I don't want to drop him. Let someone pick him up and then get totally screwed by it. Is there anyone else that you're a little bit starting to get worried about?
Quick one, Joe Burrow, just the calf injury is really affecting his passing. You definitely cannot start him. Even against Arizona, I would prefer to pick up like a guy we keep mentioning, Sam Howell for this week. Even Jordan Love, if he's available, CJ Stroud, those ones are probably rostered, but Howell's probably widely available. Pick up Howell, start him over Burrow. Wait till Burrow starts to show signs of, coming out of being more healthy, and don't start him until then.
Yeah, and what's crazy is, and you know this from following me, like I'm like zero QB. Like I avoid the crap out of quarterbacks. Like I've just always found value in taking the Kirk Cousins. Like Kirk Cousins has been the guy that's just won me leagues for years. Jared Goff, another fantastic fantasy player for years, very consistent. You know what you're getting. You're able to wait for them till the end. And this year, in one of my drafts, I was like, you know what? I want to take an elite. I want to take Joe.
Yeah, I did that.
I never do this. I'm like, I never do this. I tweeted out. I'm going to have to find the tweet. I'm like, I never do this. And I did it. It felt gross, but I'm still excited about it.
Bad luck.
I'm done. I will not draft quarterbacks again like that.
Yeah, I thought since he was ready week 1, he wouldn't get so affected by this injury, but it's clear that the calf injury is hurting him. But yeah, I hear you that some of the more pricey QBs haven't, namely Burrow, but at least Justin Herbert and Lamar are doing well. It's just a tough break with Burrow, really. He would have had a good year, not for the injury.
Yeah, where do you think the Bengals, like, where are they at? Do you think that this is a situation where it's like playoffs, their schedule is tough. They have a very tough schedule coming up. Like, is playoffs maybe out of the question at some point?
Yeah, I think this is one of those lost years that we see in sports with really good teams where they just have, injuries to key players and they have a real down year and they end up missing the playoffs and they're right back in it the next year after they get, a nicer first round pick and it helps out their roster. Really, honestly, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
I don't think so too. And I think that, because we've seen this and I talked about this, I think on Monday, like we've seen the Broncos have slow starts the last 2 years. Like that is kind of what they've been known for. This isn't just a slow start. It looks bad.
Yeah, because what do you do? Like the only way Burrow can look at full strength again is with rest. And if you rest him, because you didn't address backup quarterback, they have like Jake Browning. Sorry, he hasn't really shown anything. You're likely going to lose that way. So it's like they're forced to play him and it's just a check down city type of offense, just very inefficient. Hopefully he could, get back to full health. But I think by then it'll be too late and they'll just narrowly miss the playoffs. Maybe they get hot at the end.
Yeah, maybe. And what about the AFC North in general? Like, where are you at with the Steelers? Because their team actually is disappointing me quite a bit.
Yeah, now Kenny Pickett. Well, number one with Matt Canada, the offense continues to really.
Gosh.
They got to move on from him.
They're going into a bye week, so I think that the right decision is to get rid of him.
Yeah, especially after they likely lose this week against the Ravens with probably Mitch Trubisky playing. That would put them at what I think. Wait, I think 1-4, right? If they lose this
Yeah,
week.
they've won.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
because they only beat the Raiders, they lost to the Niners, to the Browns, and to the Texans. So yeah, that would put them at 1-4. So I had high hopes. I liked their draft, but it hasn't looked good. Kenny Pickett's not showing the growth we saw from preseason that we expected. And the Browns and Ravens look like the class of the first Ravens, second Browns look like the class of the that division.
Yeah, and where are you at? And then I'll let you get out of here after this. But T. Higgins is going to be, especially as the Bengals continue to do poorly, this is going to be a name that the only thing people are going to want to talk about is where T. Higgins is going. A lot of Bengals fans that are kind of close tied to the team and, they have their sources and whatever it is, they don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think that's in the best interest of the team, in my opinion. I think that like them trading him now, I don't think that's a bad call. With T. Higgins, where are you at? Do you think he plays for the Bengals next year? What's a good fit for him? Like, where are you at?
I think the best move for them is, like you said, maybe trade him this year at the deadline in what looks like a lost year. Get a nice draft pick. You got to pay up for Jamar Chase. It's hard to, be paying all this money for a premium quarterback and 2 premium receivers. So maybe replace Higgins in the draft. You can use that extra cap space saved elsewhere, and you can get a pick in a trade. I think that's the right move.
Yeah, and they're going to have to address their defense. Like, it's an issue. And you kind of knew that was going to happen, especially when, they let Jesse Bates go a different direction. Like, they started making decisions, and it was like, is this defense really going to look that good when we come to the season? Why don't you tell everyone again where they can find you, and then I'll let you get out of here.
All right, so I know we got to go. You can find me on all social platforms at FMRante TFJ. All my content's at thegameday.com. Stay tuned to our show Better Plays Ahead tomorrow, live at 3 p.m. Eastern. Talk about betting and enjoy the game today. And I know it's not football, say the quick baseball thing, but go Jays.
Hell yeah. And you guys know I only have people on that I think are smarter than me and that can give you guys good plays. So go follow his stuff. He's an awesome follow. Great human being. And Frank, I'll have you on again soon.
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care. Enjoy.
Yes, bye.
Bye-bye.
And I think we're having technical issues here with Nate. So, and never mind. I got confused with Frank's video coming up. Ryan is joining us. How's it going?
Yeah, I thought I would jump in. Hopefully, Nate Craig gets his technical issues worked out, but we will do some listener questions and talk about that first, and then hopefully he can jump in. So first one, this is when you pointed out you have somebody trolling you.
I do. Kerryon Johnson, former running back he played for multiple teams, Eagles specifically. How about these Eagles? Those Eagles. He said those Eagles. I said these. How about these Eagles? How about those Eagles?
So this is just his way of trolling you about the Giants?
Yeah. I keep getting messages, and I keep getting on Twitter too, where it's like, the Eagles will take you on. They'll take you on as a fan. I don't fucking want to be an Eagles fan. I'm a Giants fan.
Well, that kind of leads into the next question from Twitter. Would you consider switching New York allegiances to the Jets? That's from Travis Knoll.
I think, actually, I'm not going to say it because it's going to get clipped and then I don't want to deal with it later. No, I would never be a Jets fan. 0% chance. 0%. And that green is really ugly. Green's not my color. So that's one thing about me is like, I'm not going to be an Eagles fan. Even like bare minimum, why? There's no way you're going to catch me in green every week.
Okay, so say for whatever reason the New York Giants stopped being a team. Which team would you switch allegiances to?
Houston Texans.
Oh, I mean, wow, that was easy for you.
You guys just wait. I got a CJ Stroud shirt coming on the way. I actually, the company's called Game Changers. I wasn't going to announce this till next week, but I'm giving away an Eli Manning shirt next week. I got it in 2 sizes, so medium, large. I'll take the other one, and we will give that away next week. But it's a very cool shirt. But I got CJ Stroud.
Yeah. Our first giveaway.
It's our first giveaway. It's gonna be great. But you have to like and subscribe. You have to like this video and subscribe.
Okay, so this is just more trolling, but this is one you sent me. Can the Giants score more than 3 points this weekend? From Kid Natural.
They can score 6.
Oh no.
2 field goals. I don't know, guys. This is rough. And I'm sure if you follow me on Twitter, which it'd be funny how many people do you think subscribe to the show that don't follow me on Twitter? Like, do you think that's a thing?
I think most people follow you on Twitter if they're subscribed to the show. But maybe not. Who knows?
But if you didn't see the emotional roller coaster of that Seattle game, it was brutal. That was dark times.
You texted me the next day that you almost just quit, and I wasn't sure what to make of it.
What did I say? I confused you quite a bit, didn't I?
You were just like, I almost just quit, but I didn't think it'd be fair to you. And I'm like, quit what? What are you quitting? I
can't do that.
We're gonna try to bring Nate in here.
You want to stay in just in case? Let's see how
he looks like he's walking through a field.
I'm excited for him to walk through the field.
We'll see. We'll see how he goes here.
He's in a Midwestern field.
Hey, Nate. Then he was gone again.
No, shit.
Well, we tried.
Tell him it's no big deal. We can get him on another week for sure.
Yeah, he was on the bus running late. They were supposed to be at Penn State. He is opening for Bill Burr right now. He was on Bill Burr's bus. He was going to be doing it from the bus, but then I don't know what's happened. There's trouble with their Wi-Fi. We have another question, though.
I live a similar life to comedians. Like, it's very chaotic. There's a lot going on. But
you're on buses all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
We talked about this a little bit already on the show. Fields over passing yards. It looks like he's being coached to stay in the pocket and run less. So you betting Fields over passing yards? I think it's at 192.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I think that I'm not ready to say that Chicago's kind of figuring it out and that they're gonna kind of respect the skills that Fields has. I do think that over is nice, like a nice parlay play with something else. Chicago should find success this week. I think that the Commanders is like Frank was saying, very good letdown spot. The Chicago is bottom 5 in yards per play, and it's really bad. Like it's the number's pretty gross.
Yeah.
I wonder what is his rushing yards at 40. I bet it's like 46.5. They keep doing the same shit every week.
Yeah, I didn't look at it, but yeah, that sounds about
right.
Kevin
just mentioned, like, I do like his passing attempts over. I don't care what that number is. I probably prefer that to the yards.
I feel like the yards are low though. And what did he have? 300 yards last
I know,
week?
But haven't seen. I don't know. Maybe.
All right. Final question that we have.
My girl.
What's more pathetic, believing in Kyle Pitts or believing in Kenny Pickett? This is a great question.
This is a really good question. I don't even think I have an answer to it.
Who do you believe in? Who do you believe in more to bounce back?
Kenny Pickett, which is so sad.
Yeah. It's not because of talent, right? It's just because
it's not because of talent.
Situation.
I guess believing in Pitts is fine because you hope that at some point they trade him, and they're saying that he's still dealing with the injury, so maybe we can blame injury.
Fair enough. All right, we're gonna try Nate one more time here and see if we can bring him in.
Hey,
there he is.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
No worries.
What's up? How's it going?
It's going good. You guys would not believe the comical list of events that kept me from entering this chat here.
I wouldn't believe the comedian's comical events that happened to stop him from doing that.
Well, I'm on tour here with everybody's favorite curmudgeon Bill Burr, and we are on a tour bus, and the Wi-Fi broke literally right when it was time to jump on. It was fine for 4 hours. And then we jump off the bus, and as I'm connecting we're at Penn State now, as I'm connecting to the Wi-Fi here at the facility, literally jump off the bus, 4 bulldozers are in full blown, like clang, 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 bang, 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 king, king, king. And then you guys are just looking at, I'm so sorry. Anyway, forgive me.
apologize. You basically just describe my life on like a daily basis because I feel like that's how chaotic it normally is for me.
My goodness, do you live next to a city of construction?
Oh, it's just the ongoing events that occur in my life. You were in Ann Arbor last week.
Yeah, Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase last weekend. Great club. Are you? Hi, it's lovely to meet you. Thank you for having me.
I didn't know that you. If I knew you were going to be there, I would have gone and saw you. I'm in Grand Rapids, but I still have yet to be to Ann Arbor.
Oh, love Grand Rapids.
It's a blast.
Underrated town, Grand Rapids.
Very, very good time. Where are you doing a whole tour? Are you going to college cities? Is that what's going on here?
No, I was just playing the club in Ann Arbor. They have another. I mean, Grand Rapids has a pretty good club, Dr. Grins, and then Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase is one of my favorite clubs anywhere. And so I just do that club about once a year. And then I went over to Syracuse, and I'm now met up with Bill and his team, and we're doing. I get to go along on this run, so we're doing Syracuse, Penn State, and then Niagara Falls, and then somewhere up in Ontario, Canada, and then Canton, Ohio. We're playing the Tom Benson Hall of Fame Bowl.
Yeah, I was just there not too long ago.
I've never been, so I just always watch them when they, it's the gold jacket game every year, and then Sunday night we're at the Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the Bucks play.
Awesome. And so, are you from the Midwest? Why are you
I'm actually
a Green Bay fan?
Yeah, I'm from Madison, but I live in LA now. But I will be going to the Packers Raiders game on Monday night, though.
You will?
Believe that. Yes, I am going. I always love this. Is my strategy when I go to away games, or any ticket I can buy off like the website. I always just go ahead and get the last row inside the field of play.
Yeah.
And I call them the Ron Jaworski seats, all the way up top. Take some mushrooms, vape your dick off, do what you got to do. Nobody's you do all the heckling up there. Those are the heckle seats. That's the heckling box. And I'm going, me and my boy Jay Mars, a Raider fan, so I'll have we'll be real Starsky and Hutch about it.
Yeah, and the Packers, honestly, I think this would be like their 9th straight win against the Raiders. You guys score like 30 plus points every single time you fucking play them. So you'll be tripping shrooms, having a good time, watching them just kick their ass.
Oh, I love that science. Thank you very much, because I'm obviously going to have to wager on the game, and I did not do the math like you have, so thank you.
I came with a bunch of little facts that I can shoot at you. I didn't even know this. Tried to pull a couple of things, but yeah, they've scored 30 or more points against the Raiders in 5 straight appearances, and 3 of them were 40 plus.
Wow, and that probably dates all the way back to the Brett Favre Daddy Bowl.
The last time they lost to the Raiders was 1987.
Wow. That goes back before that's before the Lambeau Leap game. I was at that game, the Leroy Butler. I was at that game, yeah. I think we blow them out. It was Jeff Hofstetler had to start, because whoever their starter was got hurt, and Reggie White stripped him, picked up the fumble, ran it 20 yards, was about to get tackled, lateraled it to Leroy Butler. He ran 30 yards into the end zone and then jumped into the stands. And I was at that game. But we have not. Well, I mean, to be fair, I think the rest of the league has also scored 30 points on the Raiders for the last 25 plus years.
Let it sound better than it is. How do you feel about Jordan Love? Do we like him? Do we hate him?
I think I was not a believer. He's definitely better than I thought he would be. I think he clearly is an athlete, and he clearly benefited from watching Aaron Rodgers play for 3 years.
Yeah.
And if it's not like no teams have the luxury of letting that happen. And the Packers kind of, potentially ruined a relationship with the Hall of Famer, on paper, but at the same time, as a fan who paid attention the last 10 years, I'm going to have to give Rodgers a lot of credit for the way that went down.
Yeah, it's funny. I've watched a lot of Packers games because I, for some reason, have this weird thing where I always date Packers fans or like NFC North in general, because I've had a couple of Vikings there, but I don't know what pulls me to the Green Bay Packers. But for some reason, I've had like multiple ex-boyfriends they're always Packers fans. I don't know what it is about you guys.
Well, they're more interesting. Who do you root for?
I'm a Giants fan.
Oh, right. I see it back there. Sorry, I missed it.
No, it's fine. It's not something to be excited about right now.
Let me I just got to do the math on your relationship history here. How did you make it to Grand Rapids then?
Long story. No sports gambling in Connecticut. Got to find somewhere to go, and a boy, which is very typical of my behavior.
You're such a romantic.
I don't know about that. That's I don't know about that.
But you grew up a Giants fan.
I grew up in Connecticut.
Okay. All right. That's Giants. That's fair and square Giants territory.
Yeah, you only get three options. It's Patriots, Jets, or Giants.
So you took the Giants. Yeah, that's a logical choice. And then what? Giants, Huskies. Who's your Big East team? Where'd you go to school?
I went to University of Arizona.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's nice.
I'm all over the place.
All right. So you're formerly the conference formerly known as the Pac-12.
Yeah, formerly, yes. I went to college with Nick Foles for 1 year.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, I don't know why, other than that you want a piece of the greatness that is the Green Bay Packer fandom, obviously, and you can't stop yourself. You're a repeat offender, and I appreciate that.
I've never been to Lambeau, though, so I feel like that I really missed on that one.
Well, you should definitely go see him play. The Giants do pretty well at Lambeau, historically, and I think that's a perfect reason to go up there. It's great. Lambeau is everything everything it's cracked up to be. Lambeau's fantastic. They did a great job with the renovations every time they renovated it, and I'm going to go there. I'm going week 18 to the Bear game, first week of January.
That would be, and see, I want to do it when it's cold. Is that sick?
Yeah.
I want to do that.
No, it's super fun.
Experience, right?
Oh my God. Oh, talk about mushrooms in the Ron Jaworski seats. I sat right under Aikman and Buck it was like the Sunday night, 7:30 kickoff, Seattle Seahawks, like a wild card game 2 or 3 years ago. Oh my God, that was awesome! And there was a lot of tickets were kind of easy to get because they said there was a blizzard coming through, and so but it was still sold out. But it was just like somebody just like threw tickets at us. We were in Madison. We were going to watch it just on the TV. That's an easy game to watch on TV, right? And we were like, well, these are 50-yard. They were like dumb family seats for some rich guy, and we were like, let's use these. And so we went up there. Oh, and the snow started falling like right at the beginning of the fourth quarter. It was great.
See, and this year, like I want a cheese head. Like I always thought it was so stupid when I was dating my ex, and he always had his cheese head and he'd like put it on. I'm like, this is so corny. We can't do this. But I think part of the experience is going there and see while it's snowing. It's got to be super cold. I have to get there.
Oh, you got to go, especially if you're willing to wear it. I kind of feel like you kind of want to be a Packer fan if you're willing to wear a cheese hat.
I have to disguise myself. And normally what I do when I go to other teams' games and it's not a Giants game, I'll keep like my Giants jacket with me. And then I'd like slip it on at the end. So then the one team gets heckled if they're the ones that lost. I don't have to deal with the bullshit.
Look, that's a nice gesture. If you can wear first of all, Lambeau is not like anywhere else. Like, I have fun at Soldier. There's a lot of stadiums are just like people take it that they're doing too much. It's like
so seriously.
Right. It's like this isn't European. This isn't, we don't need this. We're not hooligans, like this is not like there's kids here. We're all trying to get drunk and then we all got to work tomorrow. Like, what are you doing? Like getting in fights and shit. Like Whatever, it happens. It's, it happens, but it's just way better when everybody's just like, there's just something about like the fan base is just, they're going to hand you beer. They're not going to throw they're not going to chuck batteries at you. They're going to hand you beer and feed you. They're probably they'll give you shit, and they might spill beer on you, half on purpose, half on accident, but it's beer, and they'll buy you one if they do. And then, but if you have your Giants jacket on and you're wearing a cheese head, you're good to go.
Yeah, it'll be totally fine. I think I've noticed too, because I've been to, so I haven't been to Soldier Field. I haven't been to Lambeau, but I've been to US Bank. US Bank is very much the same way, but I think Vikings fans also, like, they can't get like that. Last year, I was lucky enough to go to both Giants. Well, lucky enough, we'll say, to both playoff games. I went to the Link for the first time. Holy fucking shit, are those people fucking lunatics? I had this guy dressed up as Austin Powers, like, screaming in my face while we're down. Like, I mean, they blew us out of the water. It wasn't even a game. Like, I don't even know what we were doing yelling in my face.
Yeah, the whole like Eagles fan mystique, the eating horse shit. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, they're and people are really concerned for like my safety when I was going there. Like, they are like, you're going to die if you go there. I'm like, why is everyone saying that? Should I actually be concerned?
Fuck all that.
I'd rather be up in the nosebleeds at Lambeau Field knowing that I'm totally fine and everyone's leaving me alone.
Yeah, you're good. You'll have a good time at Lambeau. Can't not.
I'll hit you with 3 like rapid fire type questions. They might take a little bit of thought, but before I let you get out of here, because it seems like you've been through a lot today to be able to get on here, which I appreciate. Who's your favorite Green Bay player of all time?
That's got to be. It's hard being Snoop D-O-double-D Donald Driver, baby.
I love it. What would your stripper name be?
My stripper name?
It's a good one.
Todd.
Todd? That's hilarious. I feel like how many strippers do you think are named Todd? There's probably quite a few.
You gotta go. You gotta stand out. If you're trying to make money in this business, you gotta stand out. Yeah. I don't think strippers they don't call strippers like
no, it's always just Sally, Erica. Like, anytime I've been to a strip club in Vegas, like, the girl's name is just Nicole. Like, it's not, they don't have these names that everyone thinks.
Yeah, fabulous.
Well, in my head, I would always be, because I feel like I used to get people would call me Fun Size, and I was like, I think I'd be like Lil Fun Size or something if strippers had those types of names.
Wow, how tall are you?
I'm 5'1", but for some reason I appear much shorter than I am.
That's pretty short.
Yeah, it's pretty short, I guess. Fine. If Bill Burr was a football player, what position would he play?
Bill Burr?
Yeah.
He'd be a special teams coach.
A special teams, a good one? Or
yeah. An angry one.
I love it. So you're at Penn State. Where's your next show after this?
Niagara Falls. I don't know the venue, but Niagara Falls, and then the whole run. You can check billburr.com for these, but if you want to come see me at my shows, I will be in Milwaukee at Turner Hall Thanksgiving Eve. That's my next big one. And then I will be at Hilarities in Cleveland. Great comedy club, maybe the nicest comedy club that I know of. Great club, November 16th, 17th, 18th. So it's Cleveland, then Milwaukee. And then I'll be, over the holidays, I'll be all over Wisconsin. I go back before I go up to Lambeau for that Bear game. I'm going to do Madison, Wisconsin, the Majestic Theater on December 27th. If you're in Madison, if you're in Milwaukee, I go back there. I work New Year's Eve at the Laughing Tap. I work there every New Year's Eve. It's one of the best clubs, my favorite clubs. And then I'm also doing another date. You can check natecraig.com for all my dates. I'll be in Chicago after New Year, just January 5th and 6th at the Lincoln Lodge. That's my favorite club in Chicago. And then I'll be later next year, I'll be in Fort Collins. I'll be in Vegas at MGM Grand. Come see me. Those are all my shows.
I'm gonna come see you in Cleveland. I think that
Awesome.
weekend I actually don't have anything. I love Cleveland. And you have a YouTube, so if you guys go check it out, you can follow him on Twitter. And if there's anything else you want to plug, if not, I'll let you get out.
Oh yeah, well, my new comedy special, Bill Burr produced it. It's called Live at the Green Mill, taped in Chicago at the Green Mill. Please watch it, check it out, like it, subscribe, and follow me wherever you follow me. iTunes, Spotify, everywhere.
Stephanie,
I would love
I'm gonna get you back on, and I'm gonna see you in Cleveland.
Let's do it, and I would love to see you in Cleveland. Let's do more shows. I love it. Thank you for the tip. Hey, thank you for the tips. Thank you for the tips on the over on Monday night.
Yeah, I got you. Let's do it. Let's go, Pax. Yeah.
Let's go, Pack.
And I'll let Ryan jump back on here to wrap up the show, unless he walked away from his computer, which is totally fine.
Nope, I didn't walk away. I'm here.
Hilarious. Oh my God.
That was great. Yeah, I wish he had done it on the tour bus with Bill Burr, but other than that, that would have been really fun.
He thinks that Bill Burr would be a special teams coach, which is very funny.
I feel like that was the perfect answer. That a very angry special teams coach,
but not to a Giants fan, because it's giving Joe Judge. So it's like the two don't combine well for me.
That's true. True.
All right. Is there any questions left? If not, we'll get out of here and we'll see everyone Friday.
That was all of our questions. Woo! So let's get out of here.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Watch him make it, break it, break it, break it.